Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm going to share with you today a tutorial on how to make this absolutely epic mermaid cake. Now I would say this is quite easy to make and perfect for parties where you've got a few mouths to feed. So if you've got a birthday coming up for a mermaid fan, you should definitely consider making this cake. It would be a massive hit. So we're going to start off by making the mermaid tails, as ideally you want to make these a few days ahead to give the tails plenty of time to dry and harden up so they keep their shape. You will need a mermaid tail mould, which you can easily get off of Amazon or eBay, and some white modelling paste rather than the sugar paste because we need these tails to dry hard. Take a small amount of your modelling paste and press this into your mould. Once that's nice and smooth, I'm then going to pop this in the freezer for about 5 minutes so it's nice and hard, just so it keeps its shape when we take it out of the mould. Once out the freezer, loosen the edges. And pop it out onto some grease-proof paper so it doesn't stick whilst it dries. Whilst it's still soft, take a toothpick, dampened with some water, and push it into the bottom of the tail. You don't need to do this, as the mermaid tails should stand upright in the buttercream on their own, but this will make it a little bit easier for you and creates a slightly neater final look. If you want to change the shape of the tail so the fins aren't all exactly in the same position, then this is the time to do it now, as they will dry in this position. You can also cut the tails a bit to different sizes. I've also got a starfish mould which I'm going to use on my cake, but that's only because I already had the mould, so thought I may as well use it. So after a couple of days left in a dry, cool place, these will be ready to add some colour. I'm using Sugarflair edible Lustre dusts, which leaves a lovely shimmery finish to decorate my tails, and I'll leave a list of the colours used in the description box below. I'm using a paintbrush to apply the dust to the mermaid tails, and depending on what look you're going for, you can layer the colours up to make them as bright and colourful as you want, or you can keep it quite simple and just go for 1 or 2 colours. If you really want to keep things simple, you can use coloured modelling paste, so you won't need to use any dusts at all. With the mermaid tails done, we can move on to icing our cake. Now I'm using 2 rectangle chocolate sponges sandwiched together using a Nutella buttercream, and I bake these in a 15 by 10 inch cake pan. You can go bigger or smaller than this depending on how many people you're catering for, and obviously using any flavour combination you like. So my top sponge did break when I was assembling the cake because it is pretty big, but it really doesn't matter because we're going to cover this in buttercream so you won't see any of it. So taking some uncoloured buttercream, and I'm using my Swiss Meringue Buttercream, apply a light coating to the top of your cake. I'm using a small angle palette knife to do this, but a butter knife will work just fine. I've coloured the rest of my buttercream pink, turquoise, purple and yellow, and I'll provide full details of the food gels I use in the description box below. Next up, take a sheet of cling film or plastic wrap, and we're just going to layer up these colours. As we are going to be using these colours on their own on the cake, you can pipe these colours on with the nozzles already attached. So for the purple, I'm using a 4B piping tip. For the pink, I'm using tip 17. For turquoise, I use tip 199. And for the yellow, I used tip 10. You then need to roll this over so both end colours meet and roll it up. Twist the ends and snip off one of those ends and pop that into your piping bag fitted with the 2D piping tip. I've also used a coupler on this bag as I also want to use tip 8B for this multicoloured bag. On another sheet of cling film, pipe one thin line of turquoise and a thicker line of pink. Roll it up as you did for the multicoloured bag. Snip off one end and put that into a bag with a 104 piping tip, but making sure the blue buttercream lines up with the narrow part of the piping tip. Now we're going to pipe all these colours onto our cake. Starting with the multicoloured buttercream and tip 2D, we're going to pipe small rosettes in no particular order all over the cake. I'm then going in with the 104 piping tip and I'm going to pipe like little scales around parts of the swirls with the narrow part of the tip which contains the blue buttercream facing up and away from the cake. And I'm going to pipe this in all different directions. I then forgot to film the next step, but I just went in with tip 8B with the multicoloured piping bag, which I used originally with tip 2D. I'm then going in with the purple using tip 4B. Next up is the yellow with tip 10. Then I'm going to use the turquoise with tip 199. And then the pink using tip 17. And finally, I'm just going to fill in any gaps left over using a mix of the remaining colours until the cake is completely covered. I personally think this looks gorgeous as it is, but I'm going to jazz it up a bit more with a few sprinkles before adding our mermaid tails. I'm going to start off by using some metallic pearls, and as with everything I've used to make this cake, I will include full details below in the description box. And I'm just going to place these around the cake, mostly around the swirls. I'm also going in with a sprinkle mix called Wanderlust. And this mix also includes gold metallic battens, so I'm going to strategically place a few of these around the cake too. Now for the finishing touch, we are ready to add our mermaid tails. And I'm just going to pop these on at a slight angle, in no particular order around the cake. And that's it, this is definitely one of my favourite cakes I've made. It's really not difficult, looks absolutely incredible, and considering the size of it, really quite quick to make. This cake is definitely a showstopper and sure to impress. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a like, and if you want to see more, then please do subscribe. Your support really is greatly appreciated.